We had a case one time where a young man was on a school bus, and he threatened somebody with a knife. So when the bus got to the school, the bus driver had a radio to head, and so was met at the school, maybe with a police officer, with the principal for sure, and they checked that youth's backpack. In the backpack, not only was there a knife, but there was 13 grams of marijuana, there was some scales, and bong.
Yeah.
And so this youth was 14 years old, and so that's quite a bit of things to find in his school bag. And then he told the principal that it was his mother's. But when they phoned Mom said, I don't grow marijuana. There's no marijuana here at my place. So no, that's a lie, right? And so he was caught in a lie. And then he has to be accountable for his actions. So if he's accepted into the program, he says to me, Sheri, yes, I did do this. I did have marijuana in my backpack. I had scales, I had weights, and I had a knife. And so during our conversations and during the forum, people asked, why did you have a knife? Well, he was scared. He was being bullied, and he was scared. And so
he was afraid of walking home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get off the bus and he was afraid he was going to be attacked, so he was protecting himself.
Yeah, and it also came out where the scales came from, where the weights came from. Mm-hmm. And so those parents were notified, and they had no idea their children were involved in that. Like, these kids are 14. So sometimes this is the first time the parent has any idea of what their 14-year-old has been up to. And then we come up with a written agreement. In this agreement, he was to do, instead of community service hours, we like to build relationships. So his father had remarried, and they didn't talk a lot anymore, but he had a farm. So he was going to go and work with his father 6 weeks, I think it was, on the farm. And then he was going to have Saturday night dinners with his mother. And that was going to go on for 6 weeks. Every Saturday night, him and Mom are going to sit down and have dinner together.
Yeah, just to say, like, it doesn't sound like much to have dinner with your mom every Saturday night, but it's huge. It's transformative.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's building that relationship.
And that trust back between that child and his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody might say, well, that's not much of a punishment, having to have dinner with your mom. And it's not intended to be a punishment. It's intended to be a time of, like, rebuilding and restoration. It's not intended to be punishment.
And everybody knows, raising teenagers, it's so hard to have communications with them, and they're more on their phone, or they're in their room playing games, and it's hard to have a conversation and even a meal with them. And so this mother and son had not been communicating well, and so this was a very good, and it was monitored. Like, that's my job. I have to monitor that. Another thing he had to do was educational program on cannabis. He learned as a 14-year-old what cannabis can do to your brain and to your body. The other thing that was in the agreement was that his backpack needed to be checked every day. And so other kids would see that, right? And they would know that they were safe because the backpack was being checked. If this 14-year-old would have been charged by the police and gone to court, he would have had to hire a lawyer. And then the lawyer speaks for him in front of the judge. He sits in the back with his mom. The victims, the other kids on the bus, they don't know what's happening to this youth. They don't know if he's coming back to school. Maybe next time he's going to come with a gun. Like, they have no idea that what's going to happen. Mom doesn't know where did he get all these things from. Like, she doesn't find that out. He could then he would have a criminal record, which would
haunt him.
follow him, right?
Yeah.
It would be hard for him to get a job, cross into the United States, anything, be a volunteer, anything like that. He'd probably be on probation, and that would, he would have to call in. He'd have to have curfews and whatever else probation entailed. So, coming through the Community Justice Program, he was able to step up, be accountable for his actions, tell his story. the kids at school saw his backpack being checked every day. They could see that he was following the rules, that he was not acting out on the school bus anymore. He was working for his mom, he was working for his dad, and he was educating himself on campus.